Welcome to Simple English Daily. I'm Mark, your host for today's episode. Do you ever feel like you're racing against time, but English is always the one being left behind? Let's be honest for a moment. How many times have you stood in front of the mirror, on New Year's Day or a determined Monday morning, and promised yourself, "This year, I'm definitely going to master English. I'll spend 1 or 2 hours every day studying seriously." Then, what happened? Work piled up. Hangouts with friends. Dates with your loved ones. Meetings that dragged on. Or simply those exhausted evenings when you just wanted to collapse on the sofa and scroll through your phone. English, once a top priority, gradually became a guilty obsession tucked away in the back of your closet. Every time you see a dusty textbook or a notification from a language app, you feel a pang in your heart, a sense of failure from a broken promise. But I'm here to tell you something that could completely change your perspective on learning. The mistake isn't you, nor is it your ability. The mistake lies in the scale you've set. We live in an age of fragmented attention. We are bombarded by thousands of streams of information. In this context, asking the brain to dedicate 1 or 2 hours of absolute focus to something as challenging as a language every day is nearly impossible for a busy adult. It's a failing strategy from the very start. In this conversation, I don't want to teach you any dry grammar structures. Instead, I want to invite you to join a 15-minute revolution. This isn't a life hack or a hollow promise like, "get fluent overnight." This is a system built on a deep understanding of neuroscience and habit psychology. 15 minutes is a small enough number that you can't make any excuses, yet large enough to create incredible compound power if you know how to use it. I will break down why 15 minutes a day can beat 5 hours of cramming on the weekend. I'll show you how to turn the time gaps in your day into a personal language lab. And most importantly, I will help you drop the burden of perfection so you can start living with English as naturally as breathing. Take a deep breath. Put aside your worries about not having time. Let's open the first door of this journey with Mark. A door called The Truth About the Myth of Busyness. We live in an era where busyness is worshipped like a badge of honor, where the answer, "I'm so busy," has become a universal shield for every unfinished plan. However, if we look closely from a productivity standpoint, busyness is sometimes just a smokescreen for a lack of priority or a flawed energy management strategy. Consider the very familiar weekend warrior trap. You start Monday full of motivation, but work pressure sweeps you away until Friday. Then, you try to redeem yourself by promising to make up for it with 5 hours of continuous study on Saturday. When that moment comes, you brew a large pot of coffee and turn off your phone to start. But after just 45 minutes, your brain immediately protests with fatigue and distraction. As a result, you only gain a tiny bit of fragmented knowledge while your resentment toward English grows tenfold. In reality, the human brain isn't designed to consume massive amounts of dry information without breaks. It's like starving yourself all week and then trying to eat 21 meals at once on Sunday. Your body simply can't absorb it, leading to intellectual indigestion. Our nervous system operates on repetition and reinforcement. When you cram, you are only hitting your short-term memory, where knowledge is as fragile as words written in the sand, easily washed away by the waves of Monday's worries. Moreover, after a stressful work week, your energy tank is depleted. Forcing yourself to study at high intensity triggers the brain's defense mechanism, turning English from a joy into a stressor. This causes the language centers to shut down in favor of survival instincts, leaving you feeling drowsy and ready to give up. It's time for a reality check. The problem isn't a lack of time, but a lack of mindset. Even if you don't have 2 hours of undisturbed time, everyone has dozens of 15-minute gaps while waiting for coffee or the bus to build the small bricks of a solid language house. The myth of busyness completely shatters the moment you realize that being good at English isn't about how much time you spend at once, but about the frequency of exposure. So, stop waiting for a perfect time and start living with English right now, with just these 15 short minutes. You might be wondering if a mere 15 minutes can truly be more effective than hours spent staring at a textbook. The answer doesn't lie in sheer willpower, but in the biological structure and specific way your brain functions. Imagine your brain as a dense jungle, and learning a new language as the process of clearing a path. If you spend an entire day hacking through the brush only to abandon it for a week, the weeds will quickly grow back, erasing all your progress. However, if you walk that same path for just 15 minutes every day, your footsteps will keep the grass from growing, eventually making the path smooth and easy to travel. In science, this is known as neuroplasticity, where synapses, the connections in your brain, only become permanent when triggered repeatedly. The brain doesn't prioritize massive events, it prioritizes frequent ones. Therefore, 15 minutes a day acts as an emergency signal to your hippocampus to transfer information from short-term to long-term memory, helping you defeat Hermann Ebbinghaus's forgetting curve, which proves we lose 70% of new knowledge within 24 hours without spaced repetition. Instead of creating a cramming disaster on Saturday only to forget everything by Monday, breaking your time down allows you to constantly reactivate your memory just as it's about to fade. This also cleverly tricks the insula, the area of the brain that triggers procrastination when faced with overwhelming goals. 15 minutes is the sweet spot to overcome that initial mental hurdle, easing you into a state of flow where you become so focused that you might find yourself practicing for 30 minutes. Even though you only started with a small lead-in goal. Ultimately, I want you to understand that learning English isn't like studying dry theory. It's more like going to the gym or learning an instrument. You don't know a language. You adapt to it by training your nervous system with sounds and rhythms every day. Always remember, a steady drip of water can carve through stone, not through the force of a single impact, but through its persistent consistency over time. That is the essence of the 15-minute revolution we are leading. In the military, there is a famous saying, "We do not rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training systems." Your 15 minutes will be meaningless if they are wasted aimlessly scrolling through social media. To turn these minutes into a productivity explosion, you need a system. I call this the 5-5-5 formula. This system breaks down your time to impact all three core processes of language: input, processing, and output. We begin with 5 minutes of active input, where you ditch the habit of passive listening to truly immerse yourself in high-quality audio that is slightly above your current level. Focus on catching keywords and intonation without subtitles, as this level of absolute concentration is quite energy-intensive. Immediately following that is 5 minutes of deep shadowing to wake up the language muscles that have been dormant for years of eye-only learning. By mimicking the speed, emotion, and nuances of the speaker like a voice actor, you are training your mouth and tongue to build muscle memory instead of the usual stiffness. Finally, the most crucial but often neglected step: 5 minutes of creative output. This is where you undergo personalization by taking the vocabulary or structures you just heard and applying them to your own life through self-talk. Instead of repeating dry sample sentences from a textbook, try describing how exhausted you feel after a long meeting or your plans for the day using those new structures. This is the moment you turn human knowledge into your own personal asset. This formula is powerful because it precisely mimics how a child naturally learns to speak. By listening, imitating, and then applying. It turns your 15-minute practice into a high-intensity interval training session for your brain, burning away stagnation and building incredible reflexes. Always remember my core message: the quality of these 15 focused minutes will always beat hours of distracted study, because the rigor of your training system is what creates a truly proficient language user. Many of us spend our nights dreaming of settling in London or studying abroad in New York, believing that only an external environment can save our foreign language skills. However, the truth is that a real communicative environment doesn't exist in geographical coordinates. It's right there in your phone, on your desk, and within your daily rhythm. To maintain 15 minutes a day without feeling like it's a burden, you need to make a crucial shift from a study effort mindset to a lifestyle design mindset, where English is no longer a stranger but a part of your personal identity. Start by applying the habit stacking technique. Instead of trying to find a new block of free time, simply attach 15 minutes of English to the gaps in your existing, solid habits. This could be 5 minutes of active listening while waiting for the kettle to boil in the morning, 5 minutes of shadowing while waiting for the bus, or 5 minutes of free-flowing internal monologue under the warm water of your afternoon shower. Moments where your hands are busy but your mind is completely free to bathe in the language. Simultaneously, perform a digital purge and restructure your virtual space by moving language apps to your phone's home screen. Change your device's language settings to English to force your brain to encounter concepts like settings or general hundreds of times a day, and proactively guide social media algorithms so that English finds you instead of you having to search for it. I believe that when you stick small notes on the corner of your mirror or computer screen, you aren't just learning vocabulary. You are creating visual touchpoints, turning English into a scent that permeates your living space, which you breathe in subconsciously. That is the power of adaptation. When a 15-minute environment is set up intelligently, English will no longer be a subject requiring iron discipline. It will gently weave into every cell of your life, turning implicit learning into a natural instinct as essential as breathing. On the journey to mastering a language, the greatest enemy is not a difficult grammar structure or a long vocabulary list, but rather those empty days when even picking up your phone to listen to a 5-minute podcast feels like mental torture. We often fall into the perfectionism trap, thinking that if we can't complete the full 15 minutes, we might as well skip the whole day. This leads to one missed day turning into a week of giving up, and eventually, a bitter abandonment of the goal. To overcome these moments of extreme laziness, I want you to remember the 2-minute rule. If 15 minutes feels like a mountain too high to climb, commit only to standing at the base for exactly 120 seconds. You might listen to just one sentence, say one word, or simply open the app and then close it. What matters is not the volume of knowledge you absorb, but maintaining the neural connection without interruption. Learn to manage your energy instead of your time. If you've exhausted your strength after a 10-hour workday, forcing your brain through the 5-5-5 formula at 11 p.m. can sometimes backfire, turning English into a negative obsession rather than a joy. Instead, be gentle with yourself. Accept that on some days we can only walk instead of sprint, as long as our feet don't stop entirely. True persistence doesn't lie in how brightly you burn on your most enthusiastic days, but in how you show up on your worst ones. Treat your 15 minutes of English like brushing your teeth. You might be tired, you might be sleepy, and you might do it sluggishly, but you still do it because it's part of who you are. By removing the burden of perfection and replacing it with minimal consistency, you are nurturing an iron will. This will help you push through every psychological barrier to turn English into an unshakable habit, even on the days when your mind wants to go on strike. The biggest hurdle that makes 15 minutes of practice feel slow and exhausting for many is the habit of mental translation, an intermediate stop where the brain constantly converts thoughts from your mother tongue into English before speaking. To break this habit, I want you to apply a technique called emotional labeling. Instead of trying to memorize a word's definition through text, try to link its sound directly to the image or feeling it represents. When you see a steaming cup of coffee, don't let the word in your native language pop up first. Let the sound coffee resonate immediately, associated with the rich aroma and the warmth spreading across your palms. Cutting out the translation station will make your language flow more naturally and boost your reaction speed to the max. Additionally, take advantage of the final 5 minutes of the 5-5-5 formula to practice your internal monologue. Turn your trivial daily thoughts into a vivid language laboratory. Instead of waiting until you face a foreigner to frantically search for vocabulary, practice describing your smallest actions in your mind. I'm opening the door. The weather is a bit chilly today. Or, what should I have for lunch? This isn't just speaking practice, it's a training process for your brain to accept English as a real language for thinking. I believe fluency doesn't come from owning a massive vocabulary, but from shortening the distance between your heart and your words. When you start labeling the world around you in English, you are building a new nervous system that reacts directly to reality. One reason we easily give up after a few exciting weeks is that progress in English often happens on a plateau. There are times you feel you're rising fast, but also long periods where you feel like you're standing still despite your 15-minute daily effort. I want you to understand that language is like a seed accumulating energy underground long before it sprouts into a tall tree. To avoid being fooled by the feeling that I'm not making any progress, you need a measurement system based on experience and reflexes rather than test scores. Start by keeping a 15-minute journal, a place where you record small wins instead of dry grammar rules. It could be the moment you hear a song and suddenly understand a lyric without looking it up, or when you think of an English sentence in your head without pausing to translate. These records help your brain recognize tangible achievements, releasing dopamine, a natural motivator that keeps you consistent better than any external pressure. I also encourage you to take the mirror test once a week. Record a 2-minute video of yourself talking about your day. Don't watch it immediately, wait a month and then look back. You will be genuinely amazed at the transformation in your intonation, confidence, and reflex speed. The biggest KPI for this journey isn't how many words you know, but how many consecutive days you've maintained your connection with the language. My dear friends, after all the techniques and the science we've explored, I want you to step back and look at the bigger picture. We tend to overestimate what we can do in a week but underestimate what we can achieve after a year of persistence. The true magic of this journey lies in the power of compound interest. Think about it. 15 minutes a day may seem modest, but after 1 year, you've accumulated over 90 hours of high-focus practice. These 90 hours aren't spent dozing off in a classroom. They are hours where your brain is actively engaged and thinking directly in English. Over time, those grains of time will build a fortress of confidence. After 365 days, English is no longer a stranger you struggle to interact with. It becomes a new identity, a version of you that hears the world through different ears and expresses your soul in a colorful second language. The ultimate goal isn't just a certificate, it's freedom. The freedom to access human knowledge and connect with kindred spirits worldwide. Our conversation may end here, but your 15-minute journey has just begun. Don't wait until tomorrow. Start right now, from this very moment. Thank you for spending your valuable time with me in this episode. I truly believe that the key to success doesn't lie in giant leaps, but in the persistence of every small breath we take each day. If you feel today's sharing has given you the spark to pick up your phone and start your first 15 minutes, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe to the Simple English Daily channel. Every subscription is not just support for me, but a commitment to yourself that you will never give up on this journey. Share this video with friends who are also struggling with a busy schedule so we can build a persistent learning community together. Don't forget to leave a comment. I'm ready for my 15 minutes, so I know you're on board. Goodbye for now, and have an inspiring day. See you in your next 15 minutes.